Today we are checking out a full MIDI song by my brand new band AAA Void. The song is named The Gates and it features Charlie Scene, Danny Rose and J-Dog from Hollywood Undead. If you want to check out the music video and everything, links will be in the description. But of course in this video we are going to be checking out the MIDI for the guitars and the bass, dissecting how you can get the most realism out of these instruments. And then of course I will provide you with the MIDI files in the link in the description so you can just check them out and try stuff for yourself. So we're here in the simplified session. Here we basically have one big drum stem, one big synth orchestra, keys, effects, everything stem, let's say, then the bass and the guitars. On the final mix you do in fact hear Sanguine bass and Odin 3, as well as undisclosed drums that may or may not be coming soon. Yes, whenever you are asking what are those drums in a lot of our covers, the answer is actually just, something unreleased, but more on that later. So first we have the intro, and let me just show you the final mix. So then, as far as bass goes, we have this. Everything is red. And that's because really, these basses are going to be squashed with limiters or compressors or multiband compressors, all over the place, because you want your bass in this type of song to just be slamming. So sure, you could play with velocities to try and make it realistic in solo and so forth, but it really doesn't matter. The most important thing is that it is giving you very consistent low end. I guess one interesting thing about it is that it is pitch bending up because the guitars are also bending up. So it's like da 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 da. And then the guitars are doing something similar. So right here, as you can see in the MIDI file, it's named Guitar Rhythm Position 3 Bridge Modern. What that means is the guitar was always on the Bridge Modern pickup selection, and then for playing, String Select Mode Auto Position 3. The Position 3 is basically because you want the guitar to play about here whenever it's playing higher notes, because those will sound less clanky and twangy. The closer you are to the nut of the guitar, the more bright your high notes are going to be because it's going to be on those thinner strings. But modern metalcore usually wants to be played higher up here, so you have a very warm, kind of darker sound. Now for the next part we don't have guitars because it's all orchestra and singing. This is where Danny Rose does the singing at first, and then Charlie Scene comes in later with the raps, and then J-Dog does some screams in between. Black sheep, where are you? I am lost, tell me what should I do? Black sheep, I wish you knew. I'm headed to the slaughter, so are you? They're lining us up, but me, I'm not getting stuck. They tried dividing us up, I say enough is enough. Cause once they got you, even if you don't want to. Leave the fuck and they stop, you motherfucker, I'm not you. So then we got to get some real metalcore. These are your typical, riffing. In terms of MIDI, let's have a look. Once again, the bass is going to just play red notes, all velocity 127. It's going to be squashed by a limiter like crazy. The tame highs is to the max because when you have those those can get more like clanky and twangy, and it starts sounding more like a dingwall, I mean, that typical dingwall Darglass combo, because this is going through a Darglass pre, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if we actually used the Darglass tone by the end of the mix. I would have to double check. But, just getting rid of some of that twang. It's a little more interesting on the guitar side because there we do actually have palm mutes as well. So once again, it's very important that we are on position 3 so that those higher notes right here are all sounding very, very round and warm. If we were to put this on, say, position 1, those would sound far less warm. See, whereas position 3 far more exciting to me. This is also why Odin 3 sounds so much more realistic than a lot of other guitars out there, because you want to be able to play right here. So then the most interesting part of this riff is probably the... So right here, we play some dead notes, and as you can see, we also have some key switches. So this is down, mute, dead. We really wanted to make sure that both mutes were actually down, because it's getting a very, very different sound than the up. And then combine it with this very dissonant, you know, nearby fret sound. So afterwards, we then get into the climax of the song, which is just a giant orchestral powerhouse kind of climax, almost like a boss battle. You know, if you're playing some kind of video game or watching some kind of anime, you know, this is the moment where either your character or the protagonist just blows someone up. But if the gates are closed, we'll gain them. Now, of course, a lot of what makes this part epic is all of the orchestra, so this is not something that we're really going to learn from the MIDI here. If you maybe want like a tutorial on exactly that stuff, you know, maybe diving deeper into the orchestra and the synths, maybe the vocal production, let me know. Maybe we can figure something out with US from Sandlane. So for sure, leave that in the comments. So right here, we then have the bass. Once again, everything red. I don't think I really need to go over this. Look, this is just playing the root note of the chord progression in some rhythm. Of course, it's important that you choose like the correct rhythm, but that's more of a songwriting thing rather than a MIDI programming thing. There's really nothing special going on here. Right here on the guitar might be interesting to take a look because we do have some key switching going on here. We have the tremolo picking key switch here, except for at the start. And the reason I did that was I really wanted my first hit to be a down hit. So right here you can see down picked key switch. As you know, the engine is trying to alternative pick. So it's going to go down, up, down, up, down, up. However, how do you know for sure that your note played before here wasn't already an up or a down or so forth? If you want to ensure that your very first note of this climax or your chorus is actually down, maybe it's wise to put a key switch here to make sure it actually is. So that's why it's a down. And then after that, the tremolo picking is because this is a fair bit faster played, and so I wanted it to be realistic. I didn't want any shotgunning or anything like that, and if you have a listen here, it's definitely flowing way more nicely. And then once again, we have some down key switches over here because these are slow chords, you know, big chorus. We didn't want any up picking in here. After that, there is another orchestra-ish moment because it's all rap. And then we get right back into a breakdown, actually. So if we have a listen right here. So the way that looks right here, once again on the bass, I mean, I don't have to keep telling you, it's going to be just all 127 velocity, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. There's one moment here where it's not all 127, but yeah, it's all very basic chugging and so forth. Then on the guitar part though, there's a lot going on. So this might actually be the most interesting part of the whole song as far as guitar goes. First, we have some scrapes and noises key switching here in the silence. As you know, in other tutorials, I've already gone over this often. Whenever you are creating silence with a MIDI guitar, and it's like short silence, or it's after a lot of noise came, you know, like it was first big noise, then big silence, you need to add some kind of noise because guitar will never be perfectly silent. So that's right here. Look at this solo. That's the type of noise a guitar will make. Then you will also see we have some key switches defining the up and down picking. Once again, I did not want the engine to ever do it when I wanted down, up, down, up, down, up, and so forth. And once again, here later, we have silence. Then we have some dead mutes, and once again, defining the up, down, because it's extremely important when your riff is easy that it is completely accurate. Now, one thing you heard in the full mix and that you're not seeing in this part of the MIDI is the pum pum, you know, the Gojira scrape kind of thing. And that's because they're on different tracks, because we wanted to have it go from left to right. So right here, you can see. So it's the exact same scrape, just one's left and one's right, but because our left guitar and our right guitar are completely different sample banks, as you know, Odin 3, everything in the left ear is completely different from the right ear to ensure you don't have phase cancellation, we can get away with just copy-pasting this part of the MIDI, because it'll be different anyway. There's no way you accurately play the exact same sample twice. And just like I showed you in our Gojira scrape tutorial, these are all just pinch harmonics on different strings. Maybe sometimes it's the same string, but you won't notice because it's so quick. So 127 velocity, a nasty scrape, and then the very last one is a mute, because usually when you get that low and you mute your very last note and you're trying to still make it pinch, it's probably not going to be a pinch. So it just makes this sound. So here we have some real pinch harmonics as well. Oh, also I really like this little trick. Normally you would think, oh, we have a silence and that one silence is enough. But you need to consider the fact that if you create silence, your right hand muted, but then as you're about to make noise again, your left hand is going to do some type of movement to get to the place where it's trying to make a noise. So for example, here we just played a pinch harmonic. We then muted with the right hand, which is where this noise comes from. But then our left hand needs to move back down, or maybe, you know, to the right or whatever. It needs to move somehow in order to get ready to make this noise. So it's a noise and another noise to bridge that silence, and that makes way more sense. It also makes just the performance so much more interesting. It's like, it's so cool. Also here, just quickly want to grab your attention here. We did some key switching here. Once again, it's very important that we nailed that down, up movement. We didn't want to let the engine do it because those percussive hits here are what make the riff. If you think about it, this is all 0, 0, 0, 0, just one fret over and over. That would be boring if not for the exciting dynamics of the rhythm. And so you want them to be nailed. That do-do-do-do-do is so fucking sick. After that, we go right back into the intro riff actually with a big orchestra behind it. So right here, again, we have almost no metal. It's all orchestra and rap and so forth. To then finally go back into the pre-chorus or chorus that we had before. So there's nothing really to cover here because we've already talked about it. So then we go into the climax or the chorus, which then moves into the outro, where we just have some root note basically playing the climax chords again. And once again, we just have some key switches to ensure that up, down goes exactly as we want it to. So yeah, that's the song in terms of the MIDI. This isn't a very hard song as far as guitar playing goes. As you know, there is so much space in this mix required for the big orchestra because this is very much, you know, orchestral rap and then metalcore. So you can't really make your guitars the most insane over-the-top thing ever because you would be taking even more space from your mix. And that's something very important you need to realize when you're producing your own music. Yes, you want the biggest guitars and you want the biggest synths and the biggest vocals, but at one point, something in your mix is going to have to be sacrificed to give other things room. And so in the writing for the guitar, we already thought of the fact there's so much orchestra here, let's keep it simple. That being said, when there is more guitar and less orchestra, you know, like in the breakdown, yes, then we can absolutely do some chirpy shit like here, but just be mindful of that. So I hope you found this interesting. Again, if you dig the song, go to the links in the description. I'm personally really proud of it. I think it's a really cool mix between rap, metalcore, and orchestra, which are my like 3 favorite things. But as always, happy producing.